Hello, this is David Baumblatt from Terabint Leadership. Today, we're going to be going over an important topic. It's been in the news probably round and round, and that's the Epstein files. There's so many ways to look at these Epstein files, and the amount of information that's going to come out of there that's going to affect society, politics, morality, legality, criminal behavior from an intelligence, foreign government, who knows? It's a treasure trove. But let's look at some leadership issues. And I do want to know that there's no doubt about it. In this episode, I'm probably going to be painting a negative picture about Donald Trump. But that doesn't mean I'm even going to go anywhere near the Democrats. I don't like most of the Republicans. And I've always said I think Donald Trump's the best we have, but I'm not really into it's going to go to guns and ammo sooner or later. Let me start it with this leadership analogy, and then we're going to get into this, because what people are going to start seeing is what I predicted. You're going to start seeing more and more our system is not working. It's not working from a moral standpoint, from a legal standpoint, it's not working. So what's going to happen? Picture this scenario. Picture sort of like Donald Trump, but again, I'm not really painting. This is not about negative at Donald Trump. There's so much negativity about it, and I said he's still the best president I've ever seen. Picture this. Picture an extremely rich billionaire, greedy, self-centered, just awe-inspiring, egotistical, powerful. It sounds like Donald Trump in some ways, but like I said, this is not necessarily about him. And he has one of his bimbo girlfriends, just one of these really hot bimbo girlfriends. I was about to paint this story like we're in Batman, like Gotham City, but we can use New York City. And all of a sudden, him and his bimbo girlfriend, she's just nothing much going on in the head, and she's got a nice body and nice face, and you know what it is. And she's one of many for this rich billionaire. And they're sitting in the penthouse apartment in New York City. But again, I'm trying to think of more of a sci-fi futuristic version of America. I don't know if you want to call this Blade Runner or whatever, but just go with me the story. But the city is really dilapidated. It's getting even more dirty, more crime-ridden, and it just is looking really bad. But for the rich, like this rich billionaire, he's living in his multi-million-dollar penthouse with security guards, with everything. He's got multiple houses, this and that. And the bimbo looks at him. This is also another reason why women should never be in leadership. They would never understand. It is the men's job to keep morality. You'll understand how the story goes. And the bimbo looks at the billionaire as they're looking out of their penthouse window in this New York. And she looks below and she sees homeless, crime, dirt. Even her as a bimbo knows that this city is just become dilapidated. And that more and more of the regular citizens are just becoming poor, disassociated. I mean, it's crumbling, but the rich keep getting richer. And anyway, but here's the leadership part that people don't get. She looks at this billionaire and she goes, "Don't you think it's unfair?" And he looks at her, which is more like, just keep your mouth shut. You know your job. Sexually please me or out the door. But he entertains her and he says, "What do you mean unfair?" Well, she says, "You've even admitted that you've become a billionaire and that you had to lie, cheat, and steal, corruption, meaning the system's not fair. And look at you, you have billions of dollars, and look at the people, they're starving." I mean, just think of this more apocalyptic scenario where the rich are just multi-rich and the majority becoming poor. And she goes, "Look," she goes, "the people are so poor right now. This system's not fair." Here's the leadership part. He says, "No, you're wrong. This system is absolutely fair." And she goes, "No, it's not. Look outside. They're all protesting. I mean, it's the mass. I mean, mass people are protesting. The system is unfair. We want change. You people," like they're pointing to the rich billionaire. Again, Trump is part of this billionaire club. When you're a billionaire, it's hard to be not part of it. And again, I could say very positive stuff about Trump. So this is not all negative, but it's going down this path, whether you like it or not. Give it time. So back to the story. She goes, "No, look at all the people below. They're protesting. They're angry. They're mad. It's unfair." And he says, he looks at the bimbo and he looks outside the window, and it is. I mean, there's protests, there's people starving in the street, there's people robbing, there's anger. And he says, no, he goes, at the end of the day, no matter how much protesting or complaining or yelling these low-level DNA people say or do, at the end of the day, they're going to shut their fucking mouth and they're going to get back to work and they're going to pay their fucking taxes. And he's right. They will. And sure enough, the next day, the rich billionaire, he has his number 2 bimbo come, and they're eating lobster and caviar. And the poor keep getting poor. And they'll protest and they'll say, this system's wrong. This system's rigged. It's not fair. And the billionaire's like, yeah, whatever. Get back to work. And they do. They get back to work and they say, we're going to vote. We're going to change the system here. Now we're going to go to the Democrats. And no, then we're going to Republicans. We're voting. Go out there and vote and pay your taxes. And so the point being is why should that billionaire, and I'm trying to look at that billionaire as what did I keep saying? The globalist government, the globalist corporations, these globalist elite, it's becoming more and more, it's so obvious now. Especially me left America in 15 years. It's so obvious. So back to that same story, the bimbo, occasionally he brings the same bimbo back. He's got about 20 bimbos. But anyway, the same bimbo comes back next week, same thing, lobster dinner in the penthouse. And she looks outside and she goes, you're right. They're still protesting. They're still angry. They're still poor. But the system still kind of chugs along. It's getting worse, but it chugs along. He goes, yeah. He goes, because they're stupid, low DNA people. They think voting is going to change. We own the votes. And he goes, they're going to pay their taxes. And again, I'm not saying this is all reminiscent of Donald Trump, but I'm sure you could think of many people in America that are fitting this more and more, these global elites. And the bimbo says, you're right. And it goes on and on like that. They don't care, because no matter what you do, at the end of the day, are you going to pay your taxes? Yup. And are you going to believe voting's going to work? Yup. I'm a little different. I left America. I don't pay my taxes anymore, and I really don't believe in voting. But back to that same story now. Now it's a couple months later, because it's going to happen. This system starts getting worse and worse and worse. You haven't seen anything yet. Martial law will come, the insurrection. I mean, this system, when it starts crumbling, guns and ammo are going to come, but it depends on what direction. So same scenario now, the same bimbo, another couple weeks comes and they're eating lobster dinner. And she goes to the window and she goes, you know, there they are. They're protesting again like they usually do. And the rich billionaire's eating his lobster champagne. He's like, yeah, who gives a fuck? Low DNA people don't care. They're going to pay their taxes. They're going to get back to work and they're going to believe in voting. Doesn't matter. And then all of a sudden she goes, something's different though. He's like, what do you mean? She goes, I think they have guns. He's like, who has guns? And he starts walking to the window. And instead of seeing the usual thousands of protesters with their picket signs saying, change, 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 and then they go back home, now they have guns and they're coming for you and they're coming for people. And then guess what he does? He's like, holy fuck. And now he panics. And what do I mean by that? Well, I've always used this story. So obviously I graduated West Point, and there's a very famous statue of George Washington on the front of the cadet mess hall. It's in the back of the parade ground. It's a famous statue. You've probably even seen it if you've seen pictures of West Point, and we walk by that statue every day, George Washington. And I've always said, if George Washington and our founding fathers would have lost the war, they would have been hung as traitors. They were domestic terrorists. They were white men with guns. They were rebels, traitors, dissidents, you name it. But because they won, they're heroes. And I think General President George Washington deserves the honor to be called our best president ever, because he was a founding father. But if he would have lost, it'd be different. But however much you say America's the greatest country, and I truly believe at one time America was the greatest country. I look at it like an American empire collapsing now. But If you do believe America at one time was the greatest country in the world, like I do, you have to ask, how was it formed? It wasn't formed through voting. It wasn't formed through peaceful protesting. It was formed through the blood of a revolution. And I say again, you look through the world history, even in Mao Zedong, politics ends at the barrel of a gun. It's going to come down this. Now, what do I mean by this with the Epstein files? At the end of the day, you're probably going to see stuff that's going to blow your mind. It's not going to blow my mind as much. Remember, when you physically leave a country, that's sort of your last stand to say, I'm done, I quit. So it doesn't surprise me. But I'm looking at you as an American citizen. So what are you going to do? Oh my God, did you see the Epstein files? Yeah, so what? What are you going to do? Well, I'm going to go out there and vote. Well, I mean, and I've said many times, Donald Trump's the best president in our life, so we voted for Donald Trump. Is he doing it? And like I said, there's certain things I definitely think he's on it. Illegal immigration. Again, we'll do a quick thing on ICE, but I've said many times, if ICE focuses on foreign nationals, thank you for your service. If they screw with U.S. citizens, and they are, I don't. So I'm making that point because I do think Donald Trump is doing a lot of good things, but I still believe ultimately Donald Trump, as a billionaire, along with his billionaire kids who never served in the military, Donald Trump was a draft dodger for Vietnam. It is what it is. Again, it's not like if you said, hey, David, I don't support military veterans. Screw you, military veterans. I'm not going to argue with you. I think there's a logic. But Donald Trump, as much as he wants a strong military and invade, he's also a draft dodger. None of his kids serve in the military. So him being a billionaire, I still believe he's part of the globalist club. One of the things that we have to think about Epstein is when we're looking at leadership, we have to look at principles. We're going to do two principles really quick. One is about the Epstein files. So again, this episode, we're not going to go into the details because hopefully it comes out. And these details about the Epstein files should be scrutinized, should be analyzed. Hopefully there's criminal justice along with it. I'm not holding my breath, though, on it at all. So what we're trying to do is look at leadership in the big picture. And ultimately, the only thing that's going to change this is guns and ammo. But keep it going. But let's look at two things, and we'll do some videos. One, Trump is a magnificent leader in many regards. So either one, he's very ignorant, which is kind of odd, or it's a cover-up. But the point is, Trump is very good at reading, and you have to be as a leader. Yeah, like a politician, you're going to run. You have to read the audience, read the American citizenry. Where is the wave of energy? Remember what we said before, Epstein files? Who cares about the Epstein files? Who cares about the Epstein files? What are you, a fucking moron? Which I don't think he is. He's hiding something. But the point being is now, he may not, I think there's a lot of stuff in him, but there might be nothing of criminal nature in for Trump. I'd buy that for $1. But we all know as an American citizens, there is becoming a two-tier justice system, to include what's happened to me. And we are sick and tired of the globalist elite, those who have money, getting away with stuff that the common man wouldn't. Those Epstein files are very important in a mirage of issues. Foreign intelligence, domestic, criminality, who's who, who's controlling the system. It is time to get this stuff out. So when he says, who cares? I don't know, Donald, are you talking to your billionaire buddies? Maybe they don't care, but to the common citizen, of course. This is not Republican. This is not Democrat. This is everyone. Those files should have been released, I don't know, in the first month of his administration. Why is it taking so long? Why is there so much redacted stuff? Why is there still so many files not put out? Now, some people would say, David, there's a lot of redactions because we have to protect the innocent. I don't care anymore for this, and here's why. I come from an interesting background in my personal experience where the United States government, this is specifically the FBI, and when I sued Boeing, the federal court system, the federal judge in Chicago, they both took private information on me and they made it public. For instance, like I said, I sued Boeing as a victim of unethical treatment. I was a whistleblower under the, I'm forgetting the name, the Equal Opportunity Employment Act. I sued. I was not told by my lawyer or the judge, and I made 3 appeals to the judge not to put that information out, that I was illegal. Of course, she never said I was illegally fired. I was illegally fired for Boeing for sexual harassment. That's a death blow to people. If you're going to get a corporate job, if you were terminated, especially by Boeing, because everyone believes Boeing is basically the United States government. And they took my private information to include my medical information. Again, I was the victim. I paid $50,000 to put this out, and boom, they didn't care about my privacy anymore. The FBI going behind my back because they don't have the honor and the courage to face me man to man. It's all documented. Myself at the U.S. Embassy in Beijing and the U.S. Consulate in Hong Kong, where they refuse to talk to me. So the FBI refuses to talk with me face to face, but they'll go behind my back and destroy my life. Again, my privacy. That's why my work visa was permanently revoked in Singapore. So the point is, the FBI, which is the United States government, the federal judge is the United States government. They don't care about my private information. And it's time to sooner or later, people, let's get all this stuff out. Who cares? Because even if people had just done embarrassing stuff, it's no big deal. We don't have the videos, but for instance, there's a video, I think you've seen, or a picture of even Jeffrey Epstein, or I think, yeah, Jeffrey Epstein is playing hide and seek with some young girls. That's nothing illegal. I'm not defending them, but I'm just saying, let's focus on the facts. Same thing, I think there's a picture of the prince in the UK, who's probably a dirtbag, don't know, I don't know the details, and he's sort of on hands and knees over a woman. That's not illegal. So what I'm trying to say is there could be some embarrassing stuff for people. I mentioned many times where Donald Trump said, grab her in the pussy. Yeah, it's definitely raunchy. He said it in private, it's not a big deal. So the point being is there could be some private information that comes out that embarrasses people. Don't worry about it. I could care less now. People don't care. It's the stuff that we're really looking at that are both from a criminality standpoint, or that's more than embarrassing. It's absolutely immoral, or it's national security. And when I say immoral, the point being is people in America get angry because if you're regular Joe and you do an immoral act, not illegal, immoral, you could say it's your freedom. You're a private citizen. The problem is when these global elites, I'm sure many of these, like we'll do an example of Bill Gates. When Bill Gates does something that might not be illegal, but immoral, that's different. Why? Because these are the same people that are lecturing us on what we should and shouldn't do. Remember, like the Boeing took a high stand and said, I sexually harassed that woman, you're fired. Never sexually harassed that woman. That's why I sued him at one. And that woman was fired and Boeing didn't care about her. So the part is, we're also tired of these people in power that are morally telling us what's right, what's wrong with all this stuff. And then behind closed doors, they do it. That's a different immorality when you're in a position of power and influence on. So I could go on and on about this, but remember when Donald Trump said, who cares about these Epstein files? Not only did he read the room, as we say in human intelligence, you read the room extremely wrong. It's almost to the point it can't be ignorance, meaning he knows this is important. So the only thing I could think of is he's purposely hiding it behind it. But any normal American, and it's not just American, it's probably people around the world. You're telling me you're not interested in this? You want to go see a football game? Of course, this is important. And Donald Trump kept saying the Democrats didn't release it. I get that. Anyone knows me. I'm not a fan of any Democrats. And anything negative I say about Donald Trump doesn't mean I'm going to go to the Democrats. But that's part of the reason why we elected you, Donald Trump. He should have released that very early. I still don't believe all the information's out. So this is what we're going to do, part 2. Let me look here. I see Gonk on here. Any more comments, feel free to. What we're going to do is this. If you're going to learn leadership, you have to have principles. We don't have principles anymore because the difference between a leader and a non-leader is a leader, that person's life is based on evolution. And in another video, I'll describe what evolution is. But most people's life is based on, because I don't need to describe it, survival. That's how most people are. It's just whatever you got to do to survive. So you will take your principles from left to right, mid-center. You will change those any day of the week for your survival. That makes sense. For evolution, it's not. Because a principle really needs to be something. Ask yourself, if you say, David, I have principles. Are you willing to die for it? If you're not willing to die for it, it's probably not a principle. And most people aren't going to die for their principles, so they live a life of survival and they change. So before we go into the Epstein, I want to focus on this one thing. I know it's about the ICE shooting. We're not changing the subject, but I want to focus on principles because there's a good video on this. Now, my principle again, that shooting on ICE with this guy Alex Preddy, who might have been whatever. He's a scumbag. I don't know. He's a liberal. I don't know. Whatever. He should be arrested. He was disturbing police. I get that. He shouldn't have been shot. It was a bad shot. And for the same reason, I also defended January 6 people from the police. Because let's face it, if this guy, Alex Preddy, should have been shot, probably a lot of January 6 people should have been shot too. But what was my principle on both ones? I'm not very pro-law enforcement. So both of them, I backed American citizens protesting. Because I keep saying, and this is part of the Epstein files, sooner or later, you as an American citizen are going to realize that the biggest threat to you is not from abroad. It's not China. It's not Russia. It's not that kooky liberal, which again, I'm not for them. I just think divorce. And it's also not the redneck racist who's probably working at McDonald's. These people don't have power. Who's it from? The globalist government, the globalist corporations. And who's part of these globalist government? Law enforcement. I've said many times, there's a time and a place for law enforcement. When I say defund the police, I don't mean 100%, but it's gotten way too powerful. So we have to look at principles. And we're going to look at one video of this woman who I've said many times, I don't believe women should be in any place of leadership. Notice I used the example with the bimbo and the billionaire. Women are bimbos. They totally live a life of survival. You could be invaded by a foreign force. Men are required to do what? In a true society, you defend your society or die. Women, they'll just have sex with the conquerors and have babies with them. Women are totally about survival. Wherever the money is, wherever the women will go. And here's another woman that we're going to show. And remember, when Donald Trump first ran for president, this is Megyn Kelly. Remember what she talked about him, how he treated women? What a bimbo this woman is. And I'm going to show you what weak leadership is. In fact, the word weak and leadership shouldn't be the same, because if you're weak, you don't have leadership. But it goes to the Epstein of understanding principles. And it just shows, again, we don't have principles. And if you don't have principles, you don't have leadership. But let's just see this quick video of Megyn Kelly, and then you'll understand more about what I'm talking about.
Supposed to feel sorry for Alex Preddy, but I don't.
This quite simply is a joke. All right. First of all, just carrying a gun illegally is not likely to provoke a violent response. In this case, in my legal opinion, should never have been brought.
Okay. This is our interlude into the Epstein files. She was talking about the Alex Preddy and the Kyle Rittenhouse. Is it Kyle Rittenhouse? And I think Kyle Rittenhouse, it was a justified shot. Shane, I see Shane on here, wasn't letting me comment. Not quite sure, Shane, what's going on. But I figured out, all right, Shane's on here. But anyway, notice how Megyn Kelly goes back and forth. What do I say? You have to have principles. And in both the principles I've said, as a former FBI agent, you still need police. You still need them. But what have law enforcement become? Same thing like they become too powerful. It's way too powerful. And the Alex Preddy shooting was wrong. The guy should have been arrested. I'm not saying that. Should not have been shot. The same thing with the January 6th protesters. Some of them should have been arrested. They definitely should have been shot, though. And they definitely should have been arrested like the way they were national security. But notice that when you find people with principles, they have a set of, and we don't really learn principles anymore. Well, most people don't have fathers. I mean, literally, I could say I'm very lucky I had a father. And this is another reason why men in America have just become, we're going to get to the Epsteins. Most men in America become weak. They have single mothers raising boys. That's not a good formula. That's not a good formula. So back to the Epstein part, the thing about Trump. And again, I like Trump, but when he's wrong, you got to call it. This whole thing with the Epstein, not only was he wrong that it should have been released early, I'm not confident at all that all the information was in there. So we're going to do a couple videos here about the Epstein files, and we're going to talk about leadership. But I think everyone agrees this Epstein stuff, this is important. So in fact, let me show you what I wrote here on my X account here. about this, and this is also about the FBI director who's a scumbag. So we're going to do a quick video of the FBI director. This is what I wrote on Donald Trump. And let me see if my screen's up here okay. Yeah, I think it's fine. So, no, I think we're going to go here. Maybe that's better. Hopefully everyone can see that better. So anyway, one of the things I do want to talk about is Donald Trump's wife. I should talk about it because Melania Trump seems to be in a world of her own, and that is the MAGA people just love her. She reminds me a little of I think it's Erica Kirk. What was his name? The guy who got shot, Charlie Kirk. Yeah, Erica Kirk. Yeah, there's some things about her because she feels like she's sort of in that protected status. Whatever, she's MAGA, she's Christian. You cannot say things negative about her. I'm telling you, there are things in leadership. Something is very off with Erica Kirk. The same thing I feel like with Melania Trump. She's the wife of the president. You can't talk negatively about her. I'm technically not a big fan of both Erica Kirk and Melania Trump for principles. I'm just going to let one principle, one here. A woman's job is to be behind the husband because the husband is the leader. If there is a chance of danger, who's front and center? The man. If there's an element of danger, the man is front and center. And the woman, out of fear, she's going to go behind the man. But once the danger's done, if you start finding your woman come out in front and say, hey, look at me, something's wrong. It's not in a woman's nature. And so Melania Trump now is coming out with a movie. I don't know. I feel like Donald Trump and their family definitely are using the White House to make a lot of money. Now, I don't know. And if I'm wrong, I'll admit I'm wrong. If she's using the money on this movie to donate to a charity, which who knows anymore? Do you have any faith that these charities now are legitimate? Most of these charities are money laundering things, but you get my point. If she was using the money legitimately for a charity purpose, I would change my mind. But we put you in the White House not to make movies. We put you in the White House to take care of the American people. I don't know. It just doesn't sit straight with me. So this is what I wrote. Yeah, it triggered some people. But as I said, Donald Trump, stop advertising your prostitute of a wife's shitty money-making scam movie. His wife, in one way or another, is a prostitute. Again, same thing with Erica Kirk. I know guys in America, you're into the girl in the bikini, the girl who's a mod. They're all forms of prostitution. I'm not saying I'm not going to look at a woman and say, wow, she's attractive. But I personally would not want my woman out there. But if we probably delved into Melania Trump's background when she was in New York City doing the modeling, you don't think one of the reasons she's with Donald Trump, too, is a billionaire? But she's painted this loyal wife. I need to stop here and just use common sense. Donald Trump, he's an older guy. But I think if you looked at pictures of him younger, I think you'd agree. He's a really good-looking guy. I think he's like 6'3". He's a good-looking guy. He's educated. He's rich. He's successful. He could get a lot of women. But the thing, so people want to point that Donald Trump got lucky to be with Melania Trump. I don't. I look at Melania Trump. I don't know. She's an attractive woman. That's about it. Dime a dozen. Well, maybe not a dime a dozen. There's not many attractive women. But in the attractive woman category, dime a dozen. Is Trump a dime a dozen? He's not. Trump is not. Trump is truly an alpha male. And you get the good and the bad with the alpha male. So this part of how did Donald Trump get Melania? Melania is grace. No, I mean, Melania, I think, was a nude model. That's not very graceful. And I don't even find this graceful, her wanting to showboat and make a movie. That's not very graceful. Graceful for a woman is to be submissive in the shadows. And maybe Melania Trump wants to do an initiative to help out American children, homeless, stuff like that. But it sounds like sort of Erica Kirk. She wants to do a movie because she wants to be a movie star. Okay, great. That's what we need. And Donald Trump is pumping this movie. And I said, at the same time, the Epstein files, which should have been published a year ago, I mean, whenever Donald Trump got elected, and he's saying, the Epstein files are not important, but my wife's movie is. No, you dumb fucking fuck. I mean, these guys are billionaires, this guy with his rich kids. And we got the Epstein files on, which are national security, criminality, immorality, globalist elite, control, everything. And he wants to promote his wife so they can add another $1 billion to their money. You see how retarded this is? No, not interested. So anyway, he's promoting that. He's like, screw the Epstein files. Go watch my wife's movie. Don't give a fuck. don't really care about your wife's movie. And I said the Epstein files should be front and center of the White House. Americans are tired of this corrupt. One of the reasons, again, my story's not going to come out, people wouldn't believe it. To believe a West Point military veteran had to depend on the Chinese government to get justice. But in the American system, the federal judge didn't even give me a day in court because I would have won. And then she publishes my stuff that I was fired without ever out my notice, my notice or permission or anything. It's unbelievable. And we could go on and on too about the FBI, but this justice system's absolutely rigged. We know it, that the rich get away with it. And if you're not rich, you're fucked. And I think we all starting to know it. And the Epstein files is a peek into that world. It's a peek. To include me, I write, as a military veteran, I volunteered to serve in the military along with families of my generations upon generations. Trump didn't. Interesting story. I know I'm sounding negative about Donald Trump, but you got to remember, if I speak badly about Donald Trump, have I ever mentioned another politician, Republican or Democrat, that I would support? None, unless they're a nationalist. We're talking state politics. So just want to do it. Some person, when I wrote this, they said, oh, here's just a liberal. This is a dumb MAGA. A lot of MAGA people are dumb. They're like, oh, here's another MAGA, or no, here's another liberal one with Trump derangement system. I'm far from liberal. I'm probably the reason I'm not welcome is I'm far right. But anyway, so Donald Trump, so many people don't know, not only did Donald Trump dodge the draft, it's in his family. His father, Fred, dodged the draft in Germany. That's why they come to America. It's an interesting story. And like I said, I'm not delving so much into that, but he is the commander in chief. And I say, is Donald Trump, is the American government taking care of American military veterans? Well, from my personal standpoint, absolutely not. If there's other military veterans who disagree, let them speak for mine. I'm still ignored. But Donald Trump didn't serve. Why am I on the FBI terrorist watch list? Is that not an interest? If you're an American citizen, you're put on you don't think you deserve to know why? I guess we truly are living in East Germany. If you're an American citizen, you're on the FBI terrorist watch list, they should tell you. The FBI should say you're on the terror because A, B, and C. If you think it's okay that you're on terrorist watch list and the FBI refuses to talk with you, another reason why I left America. And you think I'm going to serve in the military and die for this system? Not for me. Then I talked about the FBI director. I'm sure some of the MAGA people were triggered because they're like, oh my God, I'm such a racist. He's an Indian guy. His homeland is India. You could never go to India and become their version of the FBI director. And he knows about me. He has a duty now. It's not that the FBI director Cash is like, should I look into this allegation? Should I not? There's no if, you have to. It's an FBI, it's allegations. You should send an agent. He doesn't. Why? Because they're covering this up. Get ready, Civil War. What did I keep saying? It's going to be guns and ammo. Be a patriot. Stop being a sleazy businessman. This is also something else that I talk about Melania Trump. Remember the two shit coins? Trump launched his shit coin and Melania launched her shit coin. It's worse for Melania. It's worse. Trump, when you get these alpha males like Trump, a little bit, you got to take the good with the bad. You know, he's like a sleazy salesman. It just, a little of it comes with the territory, not Melania Trump. She should have held her grace. And when Trump says, hey, babe, why don't you launch a shitcoin too? You can make $1 billion. Donald, I am not going to lower my honorable standards just to make money. That's what sleazy businessmen do, Donald, and that's why I married you, and it is what it is. She shouldn't have done it. Same thing with her movie now. Same thing, wants to launch a movie to make more money, more money. Americans are suffering. It's horrible. Very bad. But let's go to this quick video. This is about the, I hope everyone can see it. Let me push this up.
For the information that we have.
So let's just talk about FBI. Again, back in the days of Director Hoover, could you really imagine these FBI directors now? I'm sure there's negative opinions on Director Hoover, but I'll tell you, man, one thing, that guy was powerful and that guy was a nationalist. And I'll tell you something, a guy like Kash Patel would not be accepted 10 foot into the FBI under Director Hoover. You think Kash is doing a good job? Why is he ignoring me? That's an interesting question. Let's see what Kash has to say about the Epstein files.
No credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday. that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer is no one
For the information that we have
in the files.
in the case file,
Okay.
there's no credible information.
Really? Pretty interesting. I have no faith in this guy, Kash Patel, at all. And like I say, give it time. Let's watch a couple movies about Donald Trump. What do I think about the Epstein files? I think without a doubt, all the information relating to Donald Trump, it's not out. It's not out at all. And like I said, some of the information, it might not be criminal at all with Donald Trump, but there's implications, relationships, certain acts, not criminal, but it could be conceived as almost unpatriotic. And sometimes criminal, there's information. Anyone with common sense, this stuff. It's the same thing I told you about when Director Wray, when I said he should have sealed remember I've said this many times, remember the southern border? I said, you don't need to be in any type of national security background. If you're just a regular yo-yo American citizen, you would be like, don't you think it's a good idea to seal the southern border? Why didn't he do it? Same thing with the Epstein files. You don't need to be any type of national security or leadership. You'd be like, I probably think it's a good idea to release that because there could be criminal stuff along with a ton of other stuff. And Donald Trump says no. His wife's movie is more important than that. What are you kidding me? All right, let's see a couple things and see what Donald Trump has to say. Let's go to this one on Donald Trump. Let me see right here. Okay, so now these are liberal news networks. We have to make sure we understand these are liberal news networks. But let's just hear what they say, and we'll go from there.
Files. Friday's release of millions of pages related to Jeffrey Epstein provided a closer look at his connection to world elites from Hollywood to Washington, Wall Street to Buckingham Palace and beyond, including many high-profile men who publicly claimed to be disgusted with the convicted sex offender and his close associate and fixer, Ghislaine Maxwell. Let's go through just some of the revelations. President Trump.
Yeah, like I said, it reminds me of people with the Erica Kirk, because I said this, I never knew that much about this guy, Charlie Kirk, and I didn't know anything about his wife. But I definitely knew more about Donald Trump, obviously, of Melania Trump way back when they ran. Before then, I don't think I heard about her at all. Growing up in New York, I knew about Donald Trump, obviously. But when Melania Trump first was the first lady for the first term, she was also kind of like, wow, look at her. I just wasn't impressed. She was a good-looking woman who got lucky. I viewed her as the lucky person. Not Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump could get a lot. Remember the story I was telling you about the rich guy with the bimbos? But her background in terms of modeling, yeah, I'm curious how much modeling she's done. If you go to New York City, there's a lot of, you could almost say borderline pornographic escorts, like sexual escorting that's been done, where I'm sure she used her looks to get into there. But anyway, long story short, I'm not into this that she's, think about it, with all the money she has, she only had one child. Now, if there's medical issues, but she still could adopt. I mean, when you see a woman with too much free time on their hands, bad things are going to happen to her. She wants to make a movie. What if Melania Trump had 6 children? She'd probably be a busy person. And a great example, too, for America. Look at me. I'm a strong woman. I could raise 6 kids. Obviously, she's got a billionaire husband, so there'll be nannies and cooks, but still 6 kids. She's like, I don't really have time to make a movie. You only have 1 kid? And if someone says, hey, David, that's sensitive. She has medical problems. She couldn't have more than 1 kid, which I don't know. I think she could have. Okay, we'll adopt. That's also good. Say, hey, we want to be president of the United States. We believe in public service. I'm going to adopt 5 kids. They got plenty of money. She's only had 1 child. And now the child's grown. So now she's got plenty of time on her hand to become another movie star. She's a model. And I want to make a movie. I want to make money. I'm telling you, it's not. But people in MAGA push back on me. I've never come out forcefully and said it now, but I always said before, I'm just not that impressed with her. She's just a good-looking model, but they made her out to be like some phenomenal woman. Similar, I guess, how before people looking at Erica Kirk, who also wants to be. When you see a man, this is the difference. When you see a man kind of like a sociopath, and I'll describe leadership in later videos, and he wants to be the Superman of the world. A little bit comes with the territory. I'm not saying, meaning the quiet professional, easy said, hard to do, meaning, but from a man, a woman now. If you meet a woman and she wants to just be this superstar, I'm telling you, stay away from that woman. Stay away from it. It's not part of their nature. But it seems Erica Kirk and now Melania Trump, they want to be superstars. And of course, both of them, definitely Melania Trump, she's got a duty now. She's a first lady. Her number one job is to serve the American people. I don't believe it. But even Erica Trump, I'm sure there's a lot of taxpayer money, Republican money being funneled into Turning Point USA. It is what it is, people, but I'm telling you, it's going to get worse.
Trump is mentioned more than 1,000 times in the newly released documents, reflecting a long-standing social and business connection between the two men.
No, and again, I give Donald Trump credit. So a common sense person would say, yeah, so what? There's Donald Trump. He's next to Jeffrey Epstein. He's having a beer. There's nothing illegal wrong with that. And I've defended Donald Trump. Remember, Donald Trump grabbed her in the pussy. It's vulgar, but it was spoken in private. Who cares? I'm very part of leadership. You have to be tolerant with many things. So again, we see these videos, and it could possibly be where Donald Trump is like, listen, it might have been to the point, even if he said, I was friends with Jeffrey Epstein. However, I was never knowledgeable of any illegal acts. And every time I spent time with Jeffrey Epstein, I don't know, I was just drinking a beer, whatever. He had sex with 18 years or older women. You know, this is Donald Trump. And what would I say? Kind of embarrassing, maybe, but that's fine. Do I think that's it? No, I don't. I think there's other stuff. But I do want us to know there, because a lot of this stuff is coming out saying, oh my God, do you see him doing that? Do you see him doing that? And I'm like, it is what it is. We'll have to see it. But I think it goes beyond that. And I believe there are people that are controlling our government, our country, meaning these global elites, where Donald Trump technically is, that they are doing stuff that's not just illegal, it's immoral. And we have to start putting our foot down. But then again, when I say foot down, what the hell does that mean? Either going to have to leave, we're going to probably guns and ammo.
Previous document releases indicated Trump was listed as a passenger on Epstein's jet 8 times between 1993 and 1998. And now, the newly released documents include uncorroborated claims about Donald Trump. The White House, responding to the Miami Herald, referred to a statement on the DOJ website denying any credibility in the accusations against the president. Several other high-profile men are in the documents, including Peter Thiel, who in one of several emails was revealed to write, "That was fun. See you in 3 weeks." The context of the email exchange is unclear.
See, let me just take this out. We don't even need a. The one thing I'm trying to emphasize, we'll see another video that I want to emphasize, is this: the sense of immorality. And we don't talk enough about that in leadership, and I need to do it. It is a big deal. What did I say? A lot of our morality comes from Christianity. We're not a Christian country anymore. It is what it is. But if you think just like Donald Trump in the overseas, might makes right, it's very dangerous. So if you're a private citizen, just Joe Blow, and you want to do immoral but not illegal acts, it's apples and oranges. But if you are people like Peter Thiel, these people that are getting in high levels of military, economics, or politics, business world, whatever, their immorality is affecting us. Or it's affecting us, meaning they're corrupting society, or it's hypocrisy. They're also making 2 sets of rules that we have to live in a moral setting where, again, morality and legality go hand in hand, but they are acting immoral in many ways. So the point is, if it wasn't Peter Thiel and it was just Joe Blow, it would be different. And you got to say, why is that? Because look at the influence that Peter Thiel has on our society. He is not the normal person. Same thing with Elon Musk. I've been suspended 3 times on X, and people said, the X is a private company and Elon reserves the right. It's not a private company anymore. Elon Musk is absolutely infused in our government. I would take the side if you are a private entrepreneur and you launched a private internet social media platform and you stayed private, sure, I could care less what you kick me off for. You say, dude, I don't give a shit. You're a Jew and I'm kicking you off because you're a Jew. That's fine. I'll buy that for $1. But if it's at the public platform, no way. The First Amendment comes into play. So these people that we're talking about, Peter Thiel or whatever, or Elon Musk, these are people who are controlling our society directly or indirectly. So it matters, even though they might not have done a criminal act, if they did an immoral act. People will get fired for this too. And I mean, I think you saw the thing about what was the Coldplay concert where it was the cam where the CEO was having an affair and they got fired. Some people said, why should they get fired? They're not breaking the law. Well, remember, they didn't get arrested. They got fired. Those are two different things. Should they have been fired? Absolutely, because they sign agreements of what you can do, what you can't. So it's the same thing in terms of Peter Thiel or Elon Musk. There is a sense of morality that they should be upheld to because they are influence our society. That's the big deal with Jeffrey Epstein. Meaning, I'm sure there's other pedophile rings in America that are sort of low-level criminals and they're having sex with underage girls. I get it. It's a big deal. And that's purely criminal in nature. But when you start doing this at Epstein's level, this is beyond. There's national security, there's intelligence, there's influence our government, where these people that are engaging in maybe not illegal behavior, but immoral behavior, these are the people, these are the leaders of our country, the influence are, it's a big deal. You know, if Elon Musk, how they do it, because again, what they say we have to do and what they do behind closed doors, it matters. Let's go to another one here and we'll see.
Tonight, the DOJ's latest batch of Epstein files revealing new connections between the late convicted sex offender and other powerful men. With another data set posted.
I think the key is what they said, powerful men or powerful women, even though I'm not into that term, but these are powerful men. And because they're powerful men, they run our society. So it matters. It's the same thing if you said, well, as long as West Point cadets, West Point generals, as long as they could kill people and destroy people and win our wars, that's enough. Not necessarily. I get it. I mean, think about it. Would you invest in a business that's all they do is make money? Now, on paper, you'd say, sounds good to me. Really, no matter what they do, no matter what morality they do, it matters. Because at the end of the day, your wife or your kids or the people you associate with, there should be some type of moral fabric. None at all. How do you make friends? Notice why I keep saying we're not a Christian nation anymore. So the key was, she said, powerful men. Powerful men mean these are individuals that have influence over our lives. It matters. And you as a taxpayer should want, what did I keep saying about West Point? Competence and character. I didn't say that. That's General Schwarzkopf, his term for leadership. Not a bad one. What is leadership? Competence, get the job done. We get that. Earn the money, accomplish the mission, achieve the objective. We get that, but have character. Have character. Next lesson, I got to talk about leader. It matters, people. There has to be, if we turn into a society, and we are, where there's more and more. So that's the key with this.
Overnight. One of the documents appears to be a 32-count draft indictment prepared against Epstein before the non-prosecution agreement he reached in 2007. It reveals the government was looking to charge 3 co-conspirators alongside Epstein with a conspiracy to procure women under the age of 18 between 2001 and 2005. Their names are redacted, but they are described as assistants who helped schedule appointments, make calls, pay victims, and more. Some new images also appear to show.
So watch this. I'm going to defend this image, though I'm sure this guy's a sleazebag, but I'm not. Okay, so what? What do I see here? I see this guy bent over this girl or whatever. Okay, more. I need more than that. So I'm not saying I believe there's a lot more, but at the same time, let's go as a good investigator, facts by facts. But I don't see anything immoral about this. I don't know. Maybe they're playing a game, whatever, or illegal. But what I'm also saying is we haven't seen everything. We haven't seen anything.
Britain's former Prince Andrew kneeling over an unidentified female. There are no details provided about the circumstances or timing of the photos, and there's no indication of wrongdoing in these images.
Good. I mean, at least the reporter said, yeah, there's no indication of wrongdoing in there. But like I said, The amount of cover up that's happening in the Epstein file, and this is, I think Donald Trump may have just played his hand wrong. He probably just should have, as soon as he got in information, got into the administration saying, hey, we're going to release the Epstein file. Remember that binder bullshit where they gave these social media influencers the binders? It's the most retarded thing. They should have just released everything at the get-go, and Donald Trump should have went on the attack, said, listen, I'm in there on page this. It's bullshit. I'm also in there on page 10. Just set the record straight. He takes the initiative. Like, it's going to be released tomorrow, but as the president, I'm first going to tell you, I'm in there, this, it's wrong, this, I get it. He's going to explain and then release it. But now to wait over a year, and you think he's doing this on his own? Again, I don't want to do so many apples and oranges, but remember the shooting in the ICE in Minneapolis? That was a bad shoot. Why? Because notice Donald Trump started changing the leadership in Minneapolis. You could tell he was wrong. Same thing with these Epstein files. I think Donald Trump was originally going to try to play it down, and he read it wrong. He realized this thing's not going anywhere. The American public, they want answers. And I agree.
He has denied prior accusations of sexual abuse by one of Epstein's victims and has never been criminally charged. The DOJ also posted, then temporarily removed without explanation, a spreadsheet of complaints made to the FBI, including unverified allegations about both President Trump and former President Bill Clinton. Per the document, the FBI determined some of those claims were found to be not credible. Trump and Clinton have denied any wrongdoing, and they have not been accused by authorities. The DOJ says the files contain untrue and sensationalist claims against President Trump that are unfounded.
All right, let me go to this one real quick here. Yeah, you give it time. I'm telling you, you sometimes leadership, you trust your gut instincts. There's something about Melania Trump. I'm not saying evil, but they're portraying her like Erica Kirk as this good thing. Nah, I think she sold her body to make money. That's what a model does, a nude model. She sold her body again to get married to a billionaire, this and that. But is she probably implicated with Epstein? Why wouldn't she? But all I'm just saying with Melania Trump, I don't look at her as the ideal American wife in many ways. Same thing like this. She's coming out with her movie. We got better things to do, sweetheart, than allow you to make more millions of dollars in the White House. Boy, that's a good-looking girl. Who's that girl? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, and also this would be obviously the right-wing media. I'm sure the left-wing media doesn't like Melania, but they paint sometimes Melania as if Donald Trump got lucky. I don't know. She's definitely an attractive woman. I'm not saying that. But when you're Donald Trump, let's face it, Donald Trump is not the normal man. Are you kidding me? I would say for a guy like Donald Trump, this woman's a dime a dozen. It's just, I'm not that impressed. There's something about her, very similar to Kirk. It's not sitting right. And again, we're defending just because you were friends with Jeffrey Epstein, that alone, you never know. You didn't know what does friends mean? I don't know. Had a cup of coffee with him. So we get it. I mean, we have to put on our logical hat. Some people really went overboard and they should be in some ways brought to justice or brought to the court of public appeals, public opinion. But other people, I get it. Like, I never knew anything about Jeffrey Epstein. I had a cup of coffee with him and whatever. We talked about that. So we get it. But I'm just saying, there's something with Melania Trump. And again, it's also with Trump and his kids, where the similar sort of nature, you don't think they're using now the White House to become more rich and more rich? What I'm trying to tell you is this is Trump's second term. I'm still not impressed with him. But at the same time, well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, he's done some very impressive things. I shouldn't say it. But either way, I said many times, he's not going to fix his system. It's going to get worse. So who thinks this guy committed suicide or got murdered? Really? Do we have faith in the FBI? Wow. Well, Dan Bongino was the deputy director. This is the guy who blocked me and unblocked me on my first X, and they're not talking with me. Why? Because they want to hide my story. You don't think it's possible that the FBI did a cover up on this, didn't want to investigate? You don't think it's plausible that this guy probably got murdered? What am I saying? But at the end of the day, I said before, you're an American citizen. So what? What are you going to do? Remember that story I told you about the rich billionaire in the beginning? As long as you continue to believe that voting is going to work, as long as you continue to pay your taxes, why should they change? Probably not. Okay, we're going to do one last video. It's here, and I think it's pretty interesting on this. So let me just make sure I'm seeing this. What you're going to see with this video is, I'm telling you, you're going to start seeing stuff in America you've never seen before. And we're going to end it with this video, and I'm going to end it with my prediction.
So who gave the order to flag records related to President Trump?
To flag records for President Trump?
To flag any records which included his name.
I'm not going to discuss anything about that with you, Senator.
Eventually, you're going to have to answer for your conduct in this. You won't do it today, but eventually you will. I yield, Mr. Chairman. So who gave the order to flag records related to President Trump?
To flag records for President Trump?
To flag any records which included his name.
I'm not going to discuss anything about that with you, Senator.
Eventually, you're going to have to answer for your conduct in this. You won't do it today, but eventually you will. I yield, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, what is that? What is the point of this? And this is where we get to the Epstein. Donald Trump is his second term. He's been in office 1 year. And there is also showbiz. I think he's also said bad things about Pam Bondi, like, hey, when are we going to get these arrests made? But have we had any significant arrests of American globalists? These would be American high-level politicians, American high-level business people. I can't think of any. And what did I say? We were able to arrest Maduro. Are you kidding me? That's a Hollywood movie right there in terms of what we did. So we could do it. Why? Because at the end of the day, what you also don't want to see with these Epstein files, it's one big club. Remember, I keep saying about the Democrats and the Republicans are more alike than you think, how many times these elite global business corporations are utilizing both the Republicans. It's like one big club. That's another reason why you're not going to, I don't see Donald Trump making any arrest of anyone really high level, unless that person has already committed, for lack of a better word, political or relationship-wide suicide. So he's a lone wolf and we could take him out. Why? Because retribution. Donald Trump knows there's retribution. The point that I'm trying to say is, and I've said this in another video, the American government is also like an oligarchy mafia, very similar to Russia and China. I know it sounds weird. It's like, no way. I've said again, it's very simple. Is the government corrupt or not? It's a simple question. And most of you said, of course it is. Then why hasn't there been an arrest? Well, we just need more time. We had a guy named Dan Bongino. Dan Bongino, which is a superstar among MAGA, was the deputy director of the FBI. You can't get higher than that, especially in the deep state. There were no arrests made. Guess what? Because at the end of the day, the Republicans don't want to arrest the Democrats. Democrats don't want to arrest the Republicans because of vice versa, and they both work for the same person. But it's an interesting question. I mean, Donald Trump, because there's going to be many low-level arrests. You're going to see Donald Trump, I'm arresting low-level. We get that. And that's why we're interested in the Epstein files. Why? Because we're tired of these globalist elite pointing the finger at, look at me. When I was fired from Boeing, no one would believe me. Everyone would believe Boeing. Why? Because just like these Epstein files, whether it's the politicians, these big corporate, they always do the right thing. And it's us little people that must be, it's fucking wrong. These people are corrupt. And that Epstein file was a chance for normal people to get a glimpse. And I hope it keeps going. But I also think there is no way in hell, if you think all of the Epstein files have been out or the stuff that's redacted is going to come out. So even I don't believe 100%, but it sounds like there's a lot, and let it go. And there'll be other people that sift through it. It's great. It's great analysis. But why didn't Donald Trump, one, release this earlier? And why would he make comments like, who cares about this guy, Jeffrey Epstein? He's dead. Who cares? What are you talking about? Either this guy is mentally retarded or he's hiding. And I don't think he's mentally retarded. But really, would you think about, to the American citizen, would you rather go see Melania Trump's shit movie or maybe look into the Epstein files of something that can affect your life? I think most American people are like, I want to see what's in those Epstein files. That could be a movie. Think about it, that movie, like whoever gets these Epstein files and makes a documentary movie on those, that movie could be sold out. I would be interested to watch that movie. But Melania Trump, so here we are, because remember, President Trump is no longer businessman. He's the president of the United States. He now has a duty, an honorable duty now to take care of the American people. And he advertises his wife's shit movie so she can make more money. Is that a good way to spend taxpayer time and money to advertise your wife's movie? Probably a better way is to get, in terms of government justice, government corruption, is to push out these Epstein files. But so what I'm trying to say is, would someone say, am I losing faith in Donald Trump? It's hard to say, because ever since he came out, I still said the best president, but I've always said this, he's not going to fix it. Not going to fix it all. But he's going us like in transition, like societies and empires go in transition. I think he's going to transition us into the next phase. And that phase eventually is going to come into some type of revolution. It will be. But he's not going to go down with a fight too. It'll be some type of martial law. But no matter what I say, I've never believed that the savior is going to be what fucking was his name, Gavin Newsom or something. You're crazy. Me, it's done, people. And I think some MAGA people are smart enough to realize that if Trump doesn't save the system, he won't. Nobody will. And that's where I think a light bulb will go up some MAGA people, meaning they put all their chips into Donald Trump. And when Donald Trump doesn't succeed, I think maybe then MAGA people are going to realize, I either need to leave America or I need to get out my guns and ammo. You're going to see it. But if you think Donald Trump, he's going to get, and then what the hell, Vance, JD Vance, and then he'll get elected, and JD Vance will fix it, and then maybe not, and then Marco Rubio, he'll fix it. Oh my God, bye. So glad I'm not paying any tax money. Good luck with that. But I say again, Donald Trump, go back to that image that I have. We'll end it here. Any questions I'll answer, but from a leadership standpoint, think about that scenario I said about that billionaire with his bimbo. It sounds a negative word when Melania, I don't have it, but I'm not into this. Wow, Melania. I don't know. She's a good looking model. But even as a mother, why think about it. Why did she only have one child? Medical issues? You got a lot of money. You're all into public service. Adopt some kids. That would be good. But it just doesn't, and you're telling me Donald Trump got lucky to be with Melania? I would say Melania got lucky to be with Donald Trump, because I could tell you, if Donald Trump got divorced tomorrow, Donald Trump, despite his age, his money, his fame, his charisma, he could get a hot looking woman again. I have no doubt. Could she? I don't want to end it, but let's go back to the bimbo story again. The millionaire, the billionaire. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It's the same thing like the corporation. The workers go on strike. Now, me as a boss, I'll get worried about going on strike because they're not at work. But at the end of the day, push comes to shove. Are those workers going to go back and work their whatever 9-to-5 job? And if the answer is yes, then why should I change? But if the workers truly quit, leave the country, that's a big deal. Or if the workers say, we're going to pick up guns and ammo and we're going to start shooting people, that's also a big deal. But I'm just not a big believer. And if you think peaceful protesting and voting works, well, then I don't know. How's the track record of America? Is it getting better or worse? I mean, just think about yourself. And the whole reason that Trump got elected is people at least politically realized that the system's not working. So they wanted to get as close to be an outsider, which I agree. Trump in some ways is an outsider. But if you think paying your taxes, voting, and peaceful protesting is going to work, well, let's see. Let's see how this goes. I'm not going to be in America. But I think eventually people are going to think, that's not what worked with our founding fathers and George Washington. Has society changed? Will it work now? Don't think it will. And so we'll see where this thing goes. But anyway, back to the Epstein, we'll end it here. That thing should have been pushed out, I don't know, within a matter of months of Trump getting elected. Shouldn't have been redacted. And Trump could have took a podium to defend himself being in the files. We get that. But it wasn't. And it was pushed on him, like he pushed back, pushed back. Not good, people. Not good at all. Anyway, let's see where the story goes, but I think it's going to go in the same direction. Give it time. You're going to see America get worse and worse. David Baumblatt from Terrapin's Leadership telling the Patriots, lead to victory.